page. So WAGMI is an instance here. It says it at the top. It's basically a high throughput test bed for EVM optimizations. And right now, I think it's parameterized at some fraction of the gas cost, and then some way larger number of potential gas. So basically you're paying less and there's a heck of a lot more. That's correct, right, Connor?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think we started out by airdropping every address that has ever used the C chain, a bunch of WAGMI.
Yeah, and so basically what's cool is it's just cheaper and you can push more through more transactions. So what this is serving for us is there's a couple of reasons. Number one is just serving as a test bed. If we want to make optimizations here, we can see if they're worth rolling into the main core ETH client. And a lot of them ultimately will be rolled into there. So that's one thing. And number two, we think that this is an underexplored space of launching instances of the EVM to do EVM type testing. So one of the things I really like about Kurtosis, you may remember we had, I think it's Galen Marcotti, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Whenever we were in Portugal, Connor and myself met up with Galen from Kurtosis. If you remember, one of the cool things they do is they spin up a Docker container for every single test in your test suite, and they launch an instance of the Avalanche network in there. So you got all this separation of concerns and you can figure out exactly where things go bonkers. So the same kind of thing could exist for these EVMs, right? This subnet EVM, which I think I have a link to right here, is a subnet with an instance of the EVM, which is, right, the Ethereum virtual machine, and you configure it from a JSON file. So we can spin up an instance of this containerized and automated from a little form you fill out on the website in just a couple minutes. So, you can imagine spinning up, for example, like a different EVM environment for different tests or that kind of thing. So we have something called WAGMI, and a really cool community has started to blow up around it. You can see here on the right, we've got NFT Marketplace, we've got Dark Forest, which people absolutely love. I think out of everything on here, because we've been giving out the WAGMI manually, which has been a little tedious, but a lot of people are digging playing Dark Forest. So props to the team behind that. There's a couple of DEXs, some more NFT stuff. You can even deploy a subgraph. So what's really cool about this is that all of these different teams presumably have this same dApps on our Fuji C chain, but they are also able to leverage WAGMI to test their apps in an instance of the EVM that has, way more transactions and way faster transactions. And so it's just kind of interesting because now WAGMI is acting as like a community resource. So it's not just serving the purpose of Ava Labs testing this stuff in a high throughput test bed. It's allowing other developers to deploy their EVM dApps into that same exact environment. So it's just a very interesting paradigm which is emerging. Connor, thoughts?
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'll just toss out about this is, so just so we're clear, so this is a version of the EVM that's not the C chain. It is not the main Avalanche network that you're familiar with. This is an entirely new Ethereum virtual machine that's running independently, has its own throughput, and it's able to, it's different from the Avalanche network. It's configured differently, but it's configured from a JSON file that we created. We tried to make it as simple as possible to spin up a new instance of the EVM. So the same stuff that Polkadot and who else is EVM? Polygon, like Arbitrum, all the stuff that they're running. You can run, compatible contracts on here. And, it's super cool. It's super easy to spin up. This wasn't something that we had to, actually creating WAGMI took a very short amount of time. It was not months or even weeks of development. It was probably just a couple of days. I didn't do it myself, but it's actually super simple to do on Avalanche. It's not, the subnet creation process is something that should be easy, that should be able to be done in a few clicks. Create a subnet in a script. It's
Look
not
at this. We're almost at 1 million transactions on WAGMI. That's pretty awesome.
As I'm telling you, 1 billion transactions in 1 year, piece of cake.
I think so. Very exciting. I've said it before. Peter Diamond is the guy who created the X Prize, one of the dudes who's plugged in at the Singularity University. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar who I'm talking about. Peter Diamond is, says that we'll experience more technological innovation in the next 10 years than the previous 100 years, right? It's that whole singularity idea, the pace of change accelerating. So sure, 1 billion in a year. Yeah, I can be on board with that. A factor of 10 from where we're now. Sure. I mean, I have a sense of all of the stuff which is cooking behind the scenes and just how much quality work goes into the Avalanche network every day, 24/7. So can we go 10x from here? Yeah, I suspect we can.
Yeah, it's really only a 3x if you think about it. If we're doing 1 million transactions a day, 1 year would give us 300 million. So we really only need to go up. Our rate only needs to go up by like a factor of like 3. Then, well, like that's totally achievable.
Oh my God. So I really wanted to quickly plug this. There is a Fuji token list, which you can get, I believe, off of Pangolin. Oh, it's right here on Patrick O'Grady's. I had originally created it. He forked it. It got merged into Pangolin. So I think you can get it officially from them. But you can then import the wrapped WAGMI token into Pangolin. And so, oh yeah, so let me flesh my thoughts out here. Prior to this, myself and Jovica and Yuland, a couple other amazing dudes on the developer relations team, you guys met Jovica a couple weeks ago, we had been manually giving out WAGMI. So there was an initial airdrop. If you had done more than 2 transactions on our C chain, you should have got 10. But then myself and those 2 guys have been just handing stuff out manually on Discord and Twitter. As you might imagine, that doesn't scale so well. So recently, there was a pair added to Fuji's testnet. So now you can go here and you can swap it out for AVAX. And so you can do that. So if you import this Fuji token list and then come over here, you can get your WAGMI here. And if you need AVAX, of course, you can go to the faucet. And then once you have your WAGMI, which it'll show up here in a second on my, there it is. It'll say 1 here in a second once the transaction settles. So then soon I'll have 1 WAGMI, WAGMI, wrapped WAGMI. You can then go, there it is. You can then now go to bridge.trywagmi.xyz, and then you can actually transfer from Fuji to WAGMI and back and forth. And you can even wrap tokens. And so this is pretty cool because what this demonstrates is we do not yet have native to the Avalanche protocol cross subnet asset transfers. It's on the roadmap. We're just not sure what the final product is going to be, but it doesn't matter because for now, if you're launching anything which is C chain or C chain address compatible, you can use the chain bridge. This is basically just chain bridge tech. You can see it at the bottom right here. I don't know if you guys see that chain bridge. So already you can bridge assets between the different EVM instance subnets. And I think that is just so incredibly cool. So basically now, if you want WAGMI, if you want to play Dark Forest, if you want to play around with WAGMI, you can still hit us up, but you don't need to. You can now just go to Pangolin on Fuji, swap AVAX, which you can get for free from our faucet, for wrapped WAGMI, go to the bridge and transfer it from Fuji over to the WAGMI network. Incredibly cool.